My name is Desert Heat. I am 41 years old, and I work as an emergency medical coordinator for Arizona Department of Public Safety, managing heat-related emergencies throughout the Sonoran Desert, where I've learned that extreme temperatures can cause violent hallucinations that turn normal people into deadly threats to themselves and others within minutes of heat stroke onset. Before we begin, let us know in the comments where you are watching from, please. I've been coordinating desert heat emergency response for 17 years throughout Arizona's most dangerous temperature zones, specializing in heat stroke treatment and emergency evacuation for people who experience life-threatening hyperthermia in desert environments where temperatures regularly exceed 115 degrees Fahrenheit during summer months. This happened last July during a record-breaking heat wave that pushed Sonoran Desert temperatures to 124 degrees Fahrenheit in shade while responding to multiple emergency calls involving hikers and tourists who were experiencing violent psychotic episodes caused by extreme heat exposure and dehydration. The Sonoran Desert encompasses 100,000 square miles across Arizona and northern Mexico, with summer temperatures that can kill unprepared people within hours through hyperthermia, dehydration, and heat stroke that affects brain function and creates dangerous behavioral changes. Arizona summer heat warnings specifically advise against outdoor activities between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. due to lethal temperature conditions, but tourists and inexperienced hikers often underestimate the deadly nature of Sonoran Desert heat exposure during peak summer periods. Around 11 a.m., I received emergency calls from Camelback Mountain, where 3 separate hiking groups were reporting violent attacks by other hikers who seemed to have lost their minds and were attacking random people with rocks, hiking poles, and bare hands. The first incident involved Mark Thompson from Chicago, an experienced hiker who had been climbing Camelback Mountain when he suddenly began attacking other hikers, while screaming about invisible enemies and claiming that people around him were demons trying to steal his water. Thompson's violent behavior escalated rapidly from confusion to homicidal rage, with heat-induced hallucinations that made him perceive other hikers as mortal threats requiring immediate violent response for his survival. Around noon, while coordinating emergency response for the Thompson incident, I received additional calls about similar heat stroke violence from multiple locations throughout Phoenix area. Desert hiking trails where temperatures had reached deadly levels. Lisa Martinez, hiking with her family on South Mountain, had experienced complete psychological breakdown from heat exposure and was attacking her own children while hallucinating that they were desert creatures trying to devour her during heat-induced psychotic episode. The heat stroke violence showed patterns that distinguished it from normal mental health emergencies: rapid onset, extreme aggression, complete loss of reality perception, and specific hallucinations involving threats to water supplies or survival resources. Around 1 p.m., the heat stroke violence reached crisis levels when multiple simultaneous incidents occurred throughout Sonoran Desert recreation areas, creating mass casualty situations that exceeded normal emergency medical response capabilities. David Chen, mountain biking on Desert Classic Trail, had attacked a park ranger with his bike chain while hallucinating that the ranger was trying to poison him, creating injuries that required emergency medical evacuation for both victim and perpetrator. The heat-induced violence demonstrated how rapidly extreme temperatures could transform normal recreational activities into survival horror scenarios, where heat stroke victims became immediate dangers to anyone in their vicinity. Around 2 p.m., I began coordinating with Phoenix Police tactical units because heat stroke victims were demonstrating supernatural strength and pain tolerance that made normal medical restraint procedures ineffective during violent psychotic episodes. Heat stroke patients were showing enhanced physical capabilities that exceeded normal human strength, with body temperatures exceeding 108 degrees Fahrenheit, creating metabolic changes that seemed to unlock normally inaccessible physical resources during life-threatening hyperthermia. The enhanced strength, combined with complete loss of rational thinking, created scenarios where single heat stroke victims could overpower multiple emergency responders while maintaining violent behavior that endangered everyone involved in rescue operations. Around 3 p.m., heat stroke violence incidents began involving weapons and calculated attack patterns that suggested heat-induced hallucinations were creating organized delusional thinking rather than random psychotic behavior. Janet Wilson, overheating during a photography expedition, had barricaded herself in a desert visitor center and was using camera equipment to attack staff, while believing she was defending a water source from invading alien forces. The organized delusional behavior indicated that extreme heat was creating specific hallucinatory content that focused on survival threats and resource protection, making heat stroke victims perceive normal people as existential dangers requiring violent elimination. Around 4 p.m., working with Phoenix Emergency Services and specialized heat stroke medical teams, I began implementing enhanced restraint and cooling procedures adapted for violent heat stroke victims with supernatural physical capabilities. The emergency procedures required rapid core temperature reduction while maintaining physical restraint of patients who demonstrated enhanced strength and complete resistance to pain during heat-induced violent episodes that could continue for hours. Most challenging was that heat stroke victims retained tactical thinking and problem-solving abilities while completely losing social inhibitions and moral reasoning, creating intelligent predators focused entirely on perceived survival threats. Around 6 p.m., as outside temperatures began decreasing from peak heat levels, we successfully treated 12 heat stroke victims who had committed violent attacks during their hyperthermia episodes, with all patients requiring extensive medical care and psychological evaluation. The heat stroke violence pattern showed that extreme Sonoran Desert temperatures could reliably trigger violent psychotic episodes in people experiencing hyperthermia, with specific hallucinations focused on water theft, territory defense, and survival resource protection. Investigation revealed that heat stroke violence had been documented throughout Arizona desert history during extreme temperature periods, with consistent patterns of enhanced strength, organized delusions, and violent behavior specifically triggered by hyperthermia. Traditional knowledge from Tohono O'odham and other desert communities included understanding that extreme heat could cause spiritual possession or consciousness alteration that required specific cultural protocols for safe management and treatment. According to traditional teachings, desert heat stroke involves spiritual forces that could enhance physical capabilities while destroying normal human social consciousness, creating dangerous entities that required both medical and spiritual intervention. I continue coordinating desert heat emergency response because rapid treatment saves lives during Arizona's deadly summer seasons. But I now include violent behavior protocols and enhanced restraint procedures for heat stroke patients with supernatural physical capabilities. Current heat stroke emergency procedures include tactical law enforcement coordination for violent patients, enhanced cooling systems designed for combative victims, and psychological evaluation protocols for heat-induced psychotic episodes with organized delusional content. Extreme heat in Arizona Sonoran Desert can trigger violent, psychotic episodes in heat stroke victims through hyperthermia. Induced hallucinations that create enhanced physical strength and organized delusional thinking focused on survival threats requiring immediate violent response for perceived protection. My name is Highway Furnace. I am 38 years old, and I work as a roadside emergency coordinator for Arizona Department of Transportation, managing vehicle breakdowns and stranded motorist rescue throughout Sonoran Desert highways, where I've learned that car failures during extreme heat can transform vehicles into literal ovens that cook occupants alive within minutes. I've been coordinating desert highway emergency response for 14 years throughout Arizona's most dangerous travel corridors, specializing in heat emergency evacuation and mechanical assistance for motorists whose vehicles fail in temperatures that can kill unprepared people through hyperthermia and dehydration. This happened last August during consecutive days when Interstate 10 through Phoenix reached pavement temperatures exceeding 160 degrees Fahrenheit, creating conditions where vehicle breakdowns could become fatal within 30 minutes of air conditioning failure in stranded cars. The Sonoran Desert interstate system carries millions of travelers annually through some of the hottest temperatures on Earth, with summer conditions that can kill people trapped in disabled vehicles faster than emergency response teams can reach remote breakdown locations. Arizona highway emergency protocols require immediate response for stranded motorists during extreme heat periods, because vehicle interiors can reach temperatures exceeding 140 degrees Fahrenheit within minutes. When air conditioning fails during summer desert travel. Around 10 a.m., I received emergency calls from multiple locations along I-10, where vehicle breakdowns were creating immediate life-threatening situations for families trapped in cars that were rapidly becoming lethal heat chambers. The Henderson family from Ohio experienced radiator failure in their rental car near Quartzsite, trapping them in a vehicle that was heating up faster than outside temperatures because metal and plastic components were amplifying solar radiation into the passenger compartment. Within 15 minutes of air conditioning failure, their car interior reached 118 degrees Fahrenheit, while outside temperature was 108 degrees Fahrenheit, creating convection oven conditions that began causing heat exhaustion symptoms in adults and life-threatening hyperthermia in children. Around 11 a.m., while coordinating emergency response for the Henderson rescue, I received additional breakdown calls that revealed a pattern of simultaneous vehicle failures throughout the desert interstate system during peak heat conditions. The Martinez family's SUV had experienced electrical system failure that disabled both air conditioning and power windows, creating a sealed heat chamber where they couldn't escape rising temperatures that were approaching lethal levels within minutes. Most terrifying was that electronic door locks had engaged during electrical failure, trapping family members inside their vehicle, while interior temperatures climbed toward levels that would cause heat stroke and death within 30 to 45 minutes. Around noon, vehicle breakdown emergencies escalated when multiple families began reporting that their cars were experiencing mechanical failures that seemed designed to trap occupants during the most dangerous heat periods of the day. David Chen's sedan had broken down on a remote I-8 section, where emergency response would require 45 minutes, but his vehicle interior was already reaching temperatures that would cause unconsciousness and death before rescue teams could reach his location. The breakdown timing and location suggested that extreme desert heat was causing mechanical failures specifically positioned to create maximum danger for trapped motorists during periods when survival time was measured in minutes rather than hours. Around 1 p.m., I realized that Sonoran Desert heat was creating vehicle breakdown scenarios that exceeded normal mechanical failure patterns and seemed designed to trap people in lethal situations where conventional rescue procedures weren't fast enough to prevent fatalities. Working with Arizona Highway Patrol helicopter units and specialized heat emergency medical teams, I began coordinating rapid response procedures that prioritized immediate occupant extraction over normal vehicle assistance protocols. The emergency procedures required treating every heat-related breakdown as a potential fatality in progress, with rescue teams equipped for immediate medical intervention rather than standard roadside assistance during extreme temperature conditions. Around 2 p.m., heat-related vehicle emergencies reached crisis levels when stranded motorists began experiencing heat stroke symptoms that impaired their ability to follow emergency instructions or assist in their own rescue operations. The Johnson family, trapped in their overheating minivan, were becoming delirious from hyperthermia and couldn't operate emergency door releases or communicate effectively, with rescue personnel attempting to coordinate their extraction from the lethal heat chamber. Heat stroke symptoms included confusion, combativeness, and loss of motor coordination that made rescue operations extremely difficult when every minute of delay increased the risk of permanent brain damage or death from hyperthermia. Around 3 p.m., several vehicle breakdown situations reached fatal outcomes despite emergency response efforts, with occupants dying from heat stroke in cars that had become solar ovens during the brief period required for rescue teams to reach remote breakdown locations. Post-mortem analysis revealed that vehicle interiors had reached temperatures exceeding 150 degrees Fahrenheit in some cases, with dashboard and seat surfaces hot enough to cause severe burns and air temperatures that made breathing extremely difficult during the final minutes of victims' lives. The fatal breakdowns demonstrated how rapidly Sonoran Desert heat could transform routine vehicle problems into deadly emergencies, where survival depended entirely on rescue response time that was often insufficient to prevent heat stroke deaths. Investigation into desert highway fatalities revealed that extreme heat vehicle deaths had been increasing throughout Arizona's travel corridors, with breakdown patterns that suggested environmental factors specifically targeting vehicles during peak lethal temperature periods. Traditional knowledge from desert communities included understanding that extreme heat could affect vehicle mechanical systems and that summer desert travel required spiritual preparation and enhanced survival equipment beyond normal automotive safety measures. According to traditional teachings, desert spirits could influence mechanical systems during dangerous heat periods, and motorists needed cultural protocols and spiritual protection, in addition to emergency supplies for safe summer travel. I continue coordinating highway emergency response because rapid rescue saves lives during Arizona's deadly heat seasons. But I now include enhanced survival equipment requirements and immediate extraction protocols for heat-related vehicle emergencies. Current highway safety procedures include mandatory survival supplies for summer desert travel, enhanced emergency communication systems for rapid breakdown response, and specialized rescue equipment designed for immediate occupant extraction from overheating vehicles. Vehicle breakdowns in Arizona Sonoran Desert during extreme heat can create lethal heat chambers that kill trapped occupants within minutes through hyperthermia and heat stroke, requiring immediate emergency extraction rather than conventional roadside assistance for successful survival. My name is Watergone. I am 45 years old, and I work as a wilderness search coordinator for Pima County Sheriff's Office, managing rescue operations for missing persons throughout Saguaro National Park and surrounding Sonoran Desert areas where I've learned that dehydration can cause complete psychological breakdown and violent insanity within hours of water loss. I've been coordinating desert search and rescue for 19 years throughout Arizona's most challenging wilderness environments, specializing in dehydration emergency response and missing person recovery in conditions where water loss can cause fatal medical emergencies and dangerous behavioral changes. This happened last June while investigating missing tourist reports near Tucson, where visitors to Saguaro National Park were disappearing into desert areas and being found days later in states of complete psychological breakdown caused by severe dehydration and heat exposure. The Sonoran Desert contains some of North America's harshest survival conditions, with summer temperatures exceeding 115 degrees Fahrenheit and humidity levels below 5%, creating environmental conditions where human body loses water faster than most people can consume it through normal drinking. Desert survival experts estimate that unprepared people can lose 2 to 4 liters of water per hour during extreme heat exposure, leading to life-threatening dehydration within 4 to 6 hours, and complete psychological breakdown within 8 to 12 hours of water deprivation. Around 8 a.m., I received missing person reports for Janet Miller from Minnesota, an experienced hiker who had planned a sunrise photography expedition in Saguaro National Park, but had failed to return despite carrying adequate water supplies for her planned 3-hour excursion. Miller was equipped with proper desert hiking gear, including sun protection and emergency supplies, but she had underestimated the water requirements for Sonoran Desert hiking and had become lost in areas where dehydration would quickly become life-threatening. Search operations for Miller revealed tracks that indicated increasingly erratic movement patterns, suggesting disorientation and poor decision, making consistent with early stages of dehydration induced cognitive impairment during desert exposure. 3 days later, we located Miller in advanced stages of dehydration psychosis, exhibiting violent behavior and complete disconnection from reality, caused by severe water loss and electrolyte imbalance that had triggered hallucinatory episodes and aggressive paranoid thinking. Around 10 a.m., while coordinating Miller's medical evacuation and psychological treatment, I received additional missing person calls that revealed a disturbing pattern of tourist disappearances, followed by psychological breakdown discoveries throughout Saguaro National Park. David Chin from California had been missing for 5 days before being found attacking a park maintenance worker, while hallucinating that the worker was stealing his water demonstrating how dehydration could transform normal people into dangerous individuals focused entirely on water acquisition. The dehydration-induced violence showed consistent patterns, paranoid delusions about water theft, aggressive behavior toward anyone perceived as threatening water supplies, and enhanced physical strength that seemed to result from fight or flight responses triggered by survival desperation. Around noon, dehydration emergency responses escalated when multiple lost tourists were found simultaneously throughout the park system, all exhibiting similar psychological breakdown symptoms that exceeded normal heat emergency medical protocols. The Martinez family had been missing for 2 days before being discovered in a state of collective psychosis, where they were attacking each other while hallucinating that family members were hoarding water and needed to be eliminated to ensure survival. The family dehydration incident demonstrated how water loss could destroy normal social bonds and create survival focused thinking that viewed loved ones as competitive threats requiring violent elimination during resource scarcity emergencies. Around 2 p.m., I began coordinating with specialized psychiatric emergency teams because dehydration victims were demonstrating cognitive changes that exceeded normal medical treatment and required psychological intervention for violent behavior triggered by water deprivation. Dehydration psychosis patients showed enhanced strength, pain tolerance, and tactical thinking, combined with complete loss of social inhibitions and moral reasoning, creating dangerous individuals who retained intelligence while losing all normal behavioral restraints. The psychological changes seemed designed for survival enhancement during extreme resource scarcity, but made dehydration victims immediate threats to rescue personnel and other people in their vicinity during medical treatment and recovery. Around 4 p.m., dehydration rescue operations became increasingly complex when lost tourists began setting elaborate traps and defensive positions to protect imaginary water sources from perceived threats during advanced stages of water deprivation psychosis. Current search and rescue procedures include psychiatric emergency teams for dehydration victims, enhanced water supply requirements for desert recreation, and behavioral management protocols for tourists experiencing water deprivation psychosis with violent symptom manifestation. Severe dehydration in Arizona Sonoran Desert can cause complete psychological breakdown within hours of water loss, triggering paranoid delusions, violent behavior, and enhanced physical strength that makes dehydration victims immediate threats to themselves and others during survival emergencies.